Hi everyone, welcome to Dave's Bonsai. On today's episode, we've got a few more trees that need a final resting spot. It's the second weekend in November. The skies are overcast and we're in for a stretch of 6, 7, 8 days where we're not going to get much higher than the 30s if we get to the freezing mark at all, and the lows are in the 20s. So if your trees are outside, they have started to freeze. So the trees that are outside in my collection, it's okay if they freeze right now because they're going to go dormant. They're winter hardy, Minnesota hardy. Things should be good. But we've got to find a home for them in the garage because I can't keep them where they are. We'll talk about that in a moment. While I was out here before I started filming, I got a couple of shots. Always good to document your trees as often as possible so you can look back at them. And this was probably the nicest my larch looked this fall with the fall colors. There's still little hints of green in there if you can believe it, but beautiful larch tree just to see it in its beauty. The lower pond did not freeze because I have the bubbler on for the fish in there, but this one has a little bit, just a little layer of ice. Not very much. It's going to slowly thaw today. It'll freeze again in the morning, and it'll keep doing this cycle off and on. Let's go take a peek at a couple of the trees and see what we got to do with them today. The first two trees on my agenda are not trees, but a forest of trees. So we have Minnesota forest number 2, and it's lost all its leaves. We have some of the Siberian elms, we have a couple of the poplar trees, the quake and aspen, and we have our dwarf Alberta spruces in the background. So they're all in good shape. We have kind of a weird string of 3 in a row here, but we're going to plant a couple trees over here. We're going to plant a couple trees in here to fix this dead one here. And then this is okay right now, but we might add another tree right here by this rock face. So though this is cold and winter hardy trees, it's very thin. And if I put this on the ground, I'm worried about the critters chopping these trees right here because they love the deciduous ones for sure. They might even nibble at some of these if it's a particularly harsh winter, which we can't predict. So Minnesota forest number 2 has to go. And then behind this one is the lush, beautiful, my second prettiest trees. Actually, these are almost all gold and yellow, so they're looking really, really good. So we got the larch in the foursome here. The back one here is dead. We'll replace that next year with something. Got the maple still hanging on to a couple of these red leaves right here. That has to go in the garage as well. Now again, trees that are Minnesota hardy, and we probably could keep them out here, but up on the bench they're going to get the cold winds and the cold air. You'd want to put them down to the ground. So if you have no other option, put these close to your house on a side that doesn't get a lot of wind or sun, and you're going to be in good shape. We don't want our trees to dry out. And with this thin of a pot, the roots in here, if it gets really cold this winter, if it's not all healed in with some mulch, some leaves, and a lot of snow on top of it, these roots could have some damage to them. And we could have some branches die back. We could have whole trees die off. So these are going to go in the garage. Now the garage will freeze from time to time, and it won't get much more than 40 degrees, 45 tops throughout the rest of the winter. So if it stays below 40 and hopefully above 20, all these will be okay. And I'll monitor them closely, and I'll have to make sure that they're watered because you don't want to forget to water these if they do thaw out in the garage. Now it's a non-heated garage, so it's going to be a cold winter, and we'll barely have to water these throughout the rest of this season. So these are the first 2 big mondo trees or forests that have to go into the garage. We got to move those sometime. Today is my goal. And then we have to move the slab into the garage. So now this slab planting has done really, really good this year, and it's time to give it some protection. This slab is not a pot, obviously. We have no walls to support the edges of the roots here in the structure. It's pretty cold right now, and this is probably just below freezing. So this did freeze in the top layer for sure. We've got our birch, and we've got our maples here off to your left, and we've got to put this somewhere in the garage. Now the trick with this one is anytime you have a slab planting, these will dry out the fastest typically. It's shallow, it's on a slab, most of the water just runs right out or through, so it's not holding a lot of water inside a pot by any stretch. So it's gonna dry out a lot faster. So in the garage, we have to make sure that this one is definitely kept watered if it should get to a dry point. Now, if I move this into the garage right now and we have the lows the way they're going to be the next week or so, the garage will freeze every night, and it might not warm up much above 35 degrees in that garage. Usually it hovers in that mid-30 range at this time of year when it's that low at night, and only in the 30s or close to 40 in the daytime. So we have to find a spot for this in the garage as well. Now, most of the summer, the van was parked in the driveway because I had so much stuff in this part of the double car garage here. And so I finally cleaned everything up in the garage and shifted things around, and I got the car, the van, on the other side of the garage, so no frost in the morning when I wake up and go to work, and super excited about that. But those trees that I gotta go put in the garage somewhere, where am I gonna put them all? Okay, so I got the boat in here. Remember, I winterized the boat. The boat's in here at an angle. It just fits right before the door hits the trailer hitch part. And I've got some chairs up here now, and I've got some bins that are up here, and pallet and fish tanks and the snow blower, and the bikes are hanging up on the ceiling. All the soil now is over there between the cars and the boats. I've got my 2 pallets of soil, bonsai soil. I've got the cold frame right behind me here, and I barely can walk in here. So if I have to get back to the workbench, I can get back here, but where am I going to put my trees? I've got 2 that are this big and this tall, and this is a soft cover. Oh, I got some thinking to do. My biggest concern is the slab. It's a weird shape. It's not going to sit flat on stuff, or maybe it will. It's super heavy. My son and I are going to have to lift it together. This might be a good place for the slab planting. So, as is often the case when you're trying to get more organized, we usually move stuff out of the way to put stuff there. But if we don't move the stuff into a good location, well, we're just creating another mess for us. Look at all this real nice mesh I have for bigger tree planting someday. Oh, here's an old water bottle that doesn't have any water in it. Some deck planters, anyone? Planter holders? This by no means is a permanent solution, just shoving everything over. But for the time being, I don't think there's anything I need right here in the immediate future, or at least I hope. But I'm thinking the slab can go right here. It's going to get a little close to this side of the shelf here with the tree. The structure is pretty big, and so I have a little gap here. So what I'm going to do is I have a couple of 2x4s, 2x6s, maybe a 2x12 left over. Yeah, so here's the one I was thinking right here. If I just put this right here, and put a couple of screws here to get it nice and firm, this will house the birch forest on the slab, and it'll have plenty of room up here, I think, to rest and call home for the winter. And then the other problem with this is I got to make sure that I have something underneath it that might catch the water when I water it, and I really don't know what that's going to be, because I don't have a tray big enough for that slab, so the water might just have to drip a little bit on the floor. That's going to be a tough one. But no, I can't tell now until I get the slab in here. So my first idea is the front end of the boat here has a nice firm piece. And I've got these 2x4s positioned where I can put the big pot right here. And then my other secondary idea is I have my 2 fish tanks that I'm no longer using. I got the 55 and I've got the 20 gallon stacked on top of each other with some boards for the support to keep them sturdy. And a board right here that'll hold the frame of the second large homemade pot that I have with the trees in there. I could put one here, I could put one up here. Now the only problem again is if I have to water these, where's the water going to go? So the water here would drip into the fish tanks maybe along the garage floor. I'm not too overly concerned about that. This one though is going to drip on the cover, which is kind of a tent material. And then that's, is it going to freeze solid? Yep. I don't want it to get moldy or icky, so I might have to put maybe some garbage bags on here so the water flows a different direction. And I hope that direction is this way or that way, not back in the boat. But first, let's see if they fit. Well, I think the hardest part was getting between the cars. Yeah, this is 1/8 inch thick. That's not strong enough. It's strong enough when it's on the fish tank, but it actually goes beyond the fish tank. It's bigger than a 20-gallon tank, so I need stronger supports right there, like these 2x4s, for the legs to rest on. Otherwise, that's not going to be strong enough. But it's also a little wide for the fish tank, so I need a piece of board like this, but thicker. And I think I might have a piece. I reinforced the front side. The back side might be okay. Let's try it again. Now, since I don't have trees in this corner, I'm going to put that corner by the boat so the boat's not in the way. Yeah, that's much better. So that extra 1/4 inch of plywood is now giving me 3/4 of plywood, and that's going to hold this just fine. And the wood doesn't extend, so the door should close just fine. We can move it in another inch if we have to. All right. That works there. But now, I don't know if I have enough space for up top here for the first idea. Unless it could fit more on that side. And I don't know if I'm strong enough. Yeah, that'll have to be my son. So I think I'll get the other one in the garage, but I'll put it on the temporary table, and when he joins me, we'll put it here on the boat and see if that's going to work. Well, that seems to work for now. I don't have to put any screws into that board, that support board, because it's not shifting very much. I think it'll be okay. And this one is solid where it's at. So now I need my son to come join me. So I'll have to get him on the phone and see when he's available. Let's see what else we can find to do today while we wait for Toby. Isn't that kind of a sad sight, everybody? Yeah, the new bench is completely bare. Everything has moved off of the bench. My original bonsai bench, we added that top section this year, a nice addition. These bottom sections are getting a little warped. Might have to do some work in the near future, maybe next summer or maybe the summer after. I have a couple of client trees right here. They'll be returning to my clients in a little bit. There's the slab, and here is our Amur maple. That's going to stay right there. It's too heavy. I might put some the last bags of leaves or yard waste around this. I'll definitely pile up snow around this, so it's just kind of cozied on in there. It's a big mass of soil, so this should be all right for the winter. So just off our fire pit is the first garden bed, which does not have the fence on top like the back two. And this is our strawberries. So these were transplanted twice this year, and they filled up really nice in the middle to end part of the summer. So they bloom, of course, super early strawberries. And we're going to have hopefully a nice little strawberry patch next year. And in the second half of this is where our lettuces were. And this is where I have all my poplars from up at the cabin. I put them in there, tucked them in there. I've got some protection around there, some tree wrap. Then I have a couple of my boxwood trees, just your garden variety nursery boxwoods. And there's also my Siberian fir back there that I got from my friend Neil Kruger. We did a little bit of plucking with that earlier this fall, and we're going to do some repotting and maybe some major bending on that tree next year. I can't wait. So this box is full with the strawberries. We got the boxwoods and the Quaking aspens and a pine. Now back where the tomatoes were, we have my larch. We got the larch in the middle. That's the black spruce tucked back there, which is with that larch right here. So this larch is in the batch of black spruce. We got those all together last year, as well as this clump of larch. So this one looked real nice in the fall. You can see, excuse me, it's missed. You can see it's lost most of its foliage, of course. We have some boxwoods down here. We got the little number 1 size boxwoods, hopefully for some future workshops. Also some boxwoods just outside here. Now it's tucked behind this structure right here because it'll keep it mostly out of the wind. And then when it snows in here, it'll just be all snuggled in here, and these should be just fine. These boxwoods are Minnesota hardy, and they will do fine. And they won't be in too much direct sun, so they should be in good shape. And then in the back is the great big pine tree that we just got at the Peter T workshop, our fundamentals class. And so this pine tree is going to sit here all winter long. I decided to keep it out here. I don't have enough room in my cold frames, either one of them for this beast. Maybe the cabin one, I could have stuffed it in there. But we're going to be leaving this one out here. And then last but not least is the middle garden bed. And we have some more boxwoods here of varying sizes. Got a lot of boxwoods at some good prices this year, so I snagged up a whole bunch of them. And then we have a couple of our trees. What's going to happen? I got the great big larch that Peter T helped me chop up a year ago or so, and we cut down all the new growth again this year. And so we just have a little bit of little branches that'll hopefully pop out all kinds of new buds next year. Back there is a Quaking aspen right there. That's going to go into the forest number 2. It's going to go into the forest back over there. Yeah, we're going to get that one in there. It's a nice big one. We might be able to cut that one back after the first flush of growth this next summer. And then down below to that is the grape. So the grape vine is right there at the bottom of the Quaking aspen, tucked in there. We have our other Amory maple, the one I really like. I left most of the branches on there. We'll see if they all stay through winter, and we'll see what kind of damage and which branches we'll keep next spring. And then we have the lilac. We defoliated at the end of that year with all the problems we've had with the mold. I didn't cut anything major back. Some people said, oh, don't cut it yet. Just let's wait one more season. And I guess I went with that. We're not going to cut those back. And we'll let them bloom next year and see if we can get some systemic fungus control inside the soil down there. We'll put some systemic stuff in there early in the spring, and we'll hope that we can get that fungus away. If not, it might be a goner tree. We'll find out. So there we have all our garden beds with all kinds of Dave's bonsai in there. Pre-bonsai, some just in pots, some with a long way to go. Hopefully they'll be good, and hopefully the voles will stay away. I have a couple of white sheets near my trees that you can see periodically throughout the collection of bonsai trees, and those are dryer sheets. So those dryer sheets are going to hopefully keep the voles in check. So I've got dryer sheet and dryer sheet, dryer sheets in here. Hopefully these dryer sheets are going to keep the voles. I've heard the dryer sheets and Irish Spring soap will keep those bugs away. Let's hope that that works. You often hear a lot of people in Minnesota start to complain about, I'm not ready for this. We've had a few snowflakes just kind of lightly coming down off and on late last night, today. Up north, northern Minnesota, northwest corner, with North Dakota, blizzard conditions and inches upon inches of snow. So when you look at it that way, gray sky, a flake or two, it's pretty nice. And it's so quiet. Of course, there's no kids out playing right now because it's cold. Most of the leaves have fallen to the ground. Not much wind today. It's kind of a beautiful day to sit next to a beautiful golden larch. So this is the last one to go into a cold frame or the garage. I typically protect this one. I have for its entire life, though larches can stay outside. This pot is in that medium range where it probably could be fine out underneath some leaves, some mulch. Make sure the snow's in there protecting it from the really cold winter days. But I have room in the cabin cold frame. I even have room in the garage cold frame I can put it in there. So I think I'm going to put it into this cold frame here, either right now or tomorrow at the end of the weekend. I just want to look at the beauty of it though for one more day, so I think I'll leave it out here. So my son Toby is out working at the tree farm where I have all my trees. Now he's over in the business side where he's helping people strap up their Christmas trees, and people are getting ready for the holiday season already, and this was their big open weekend, so he's a pretty busy guy. Hopefully when it gets dark and they can't work any longer, he'll pop on over here and we'll get a quick lift into the garage, either today or tomorrow. But I think everything's done out here in the yard. The trees, except for the slab, are all in pretty good shape. Now just to keep tabs on them, making sure I come in here and check these at least a couple times a week, check the soil level as far as dryness, make sure we're not forgetting to water our trees rather when they are dry. Some of the new folks into Bonsai may forget to check their trees off in the winter thinking they're just dormant and maybe don't need any watering. But remember, if they're in a cold frame, if they're in a garage that's going to get above freezing more than once this winter, things can still dry out and you can have loss of limbs or loss of an entire tree. All that's left for me to do is to head inside and see what's going on in the plant room. Hey, take care of you, take care of your bonsai, and we'll see you next time.